What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some Kajagoogoo. That is to say, I'm going to start reacting to another group. If you're new here, welcome. I'm a little different than a lot of other reactors on YouTube in that I don't react to music videos, I react to physical media. I have a very large collection, records, CDs. I've been collecting a long time. I was born in 1980, so I'm in my early 40s. And yeah, I started doing reactions to like techno and punk rock and music that I know very well for a long time. Eventually I started reacting to some synth pop, especially Depeche Mode, which is a group that's one of my very earliest musical influences. And then over time, a number of people became friends of the channel and eventually started sharing their own music with me, at which point I started using the phrase champions of the channel. And so yeah, now I've been going on deep dives with a number of groups that I don't have any experience listening to, or in some cases I maybe knew one or two hits and heard them on the radio, but I really didn't know their larger body of work. So yeah, in the case of Kajagoogoo, I don't think I know any of their work. I remember as a kid thinking it was like a movie. I remember hearing that phrase or that word and thinking like, oh, so it's a film? And then I got a little older and I realized it was a synth pop group, but it wasn't until recently when friend and champion of the channel, Han Solo, suggested that I should go on a deep dive through their work. So yeah, I looked it up on Discogs. It looks like they're like a 5-piece. At some point, a couple of the guys left, and then apparently in the early to mid 2000s, they came back to the group, and they produced another album. It does look like that album from '08 was the last like new studio album they've put out. But yeah, they're listed on Discogs, which again, it's a user-based wiki, but you know, over time things tend to get leveled out and sort of information tends to get more accurate. But they're listed as a sort of a post-punk, new wave sort of group, so I'm curious to hear. I did notice, looking at who does what, that there is someone who's responsible for synthesizers and someone else is given the credit for electronic programming, so I imagine it will have in a sort of electric, you know, late 70s, early 80s synth pop sound, which, you know, as I've gone through and heard more and more groups in that sort of, you know, post-punk, new wave synth pop like Venn diagram, I've come to realize a lot of groups, especially in the early 80s, and this is something Han Solo has talked about in advance as I've been going through, but there is a sort of darkness, a sort of grittiness to the tunes from some of these groups, you know, 80, 81 or so. So yeah, bottom line, we're going to listen to songs from a very best of compilation, so I imagine this won't just be from their very earliest material, but perhaps stuff that they did throughout the 80s. Or you know, later on even. I don't know if this is if this came out before that much later album in '08. I'm assuming this did. I'm guessing this is like a very best of their sort of original run, but if I am wrong about that, let me know. But the first track on this compilation is called Big Apple, so I'm guessing this is one of their bigger hits. I feel like if you're going to do a very best of, the first track is often a real marquee tune. You wouldn't start it with, you know, maybe a more obscure hit, which almost sounds like an oxymoron or contradiction in terms, but yeah, I'm going to imagine that Big Apple is one of their hits. It's hard not to think of New York, and again, if you're new here, if I know a song, I'll just talk for a minute or two about what I think about the lyrics, not in any definitive sense, just this is the way the lyrics have hit me. If I don't know a tune, if I'm listening to it for the first time, or as far as I know, because every once in a while I'll hear a tune, it's like, wait a minute, I actually do know this. But if I haven't heard a tune, I'll just think about the title for a minute or two, just what themes are suggested and where it may go, obviously in a very speculative way, but yeah, I am intrigued. The tune is called Big Apple, and as I said, I would be inclined to think that it is in relation to New York, perhaps Manhattan specifically, but just New York City in general. I suppose it could have a different meaning, but I really feel like if not specifically as part of the narrative, perhaps New York will serve as the backdrop for whatever narrative or event is sort of described. As the train reminds us that we should keep going, let's get it. This is Kajagoogoo. The tune is Big Apple, and it's from a very best of compilation. Oh, we got saxophone? Hello. Very fast and what? So much what? Don't you drag your heels? Nice synth bass. It's a fun tune. It was a bit brighter than I expected. I don't know why. I expected the album to start with a grittier sound or like a darker sound. And again, especially Big Apple, maybe that it suggests a maybe more positive view or conception of New York. So yeah, I don't know why. I thought it would be a little bit darker, but that was cool. It was groovy. It was catchy. Didn't catch all the lines. And again, if you're new here, when I do these reactions, I do everything on a sort of first time listen, but after I do these reactions, I do immersive listens in a headphone or in headphones, and usually over the next couple listens, I'll pick up on more of the remaining lyrics. If it gets to 6, 7 listens and there's still some lines that I can't quite make out, I will look them up online. Although admittedly, as I start doing these deep dives, especially for some artists, there are people who will post the lyrics, within a few minutes of me doing the reaction. So if there's any doubt, I can just sort of go through and read it. But either way, it was a cool track, and ultimately, without knowing exactly what some of the lines were about, it does sound like we're describing the human environment, the social environment, the physical environment of New York, life in New York, which is fast and something. So yeah, ultimately, the city that never sleeps, it certainly fits with notions about the city as well as realities about the city. So yeah, interested to hear more. Like I said, I have a very best of sort of compilation that I'm working from, so I imagine the songs will jump around a little bit. They're not going to go through their studio albums in order, but if there is a tune that you're particularly keen to talk about, do let me know, and I'll check to see if it's on this compilation. But yeah, excited to start going through another group. Once again, shout out to Han Solo, major friend and champion of the channel. And yeah, just let me know what you think of this one. More Kajagoogoo to come. See you next time. Peace.